Welcome to the Nutrition and Alternative Medicine Podcast. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host, and welcome to the show. For those of you that are subscribed to the show, thank you. I know there's only been 9 episodes so far, and today will be episode number 10. And I want to apologize for being MIA for most of 2017. For those of you that don't know, I published my 3rd book, The Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame. And you can find out all about it at invisiblefitness.com. Today's show is a show that I just did that's been released on another channel called Consciously Speaking with Michael Neeley. And we got together to talk about what's happening in January of next year, 2018. I am doing a live event based around the work of the book, The Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame. But I wanted to take it past that. I wanted to deal with releasing things on all levels. So not just releasing weight, not just releasing struggles in health and fitness and exercise and healthy lifestyle choices, but also to release things in an emotional way. All the subconscious stuff, the patterns, the beliefs, the inherited emotional DNA. We're going to get together in January. I'm hosting this live event called Releasing What Weighs You Down. And it's a limited amount of seats. So if you're someone who thinks you might be interested in being present in the room, I invite you to check it out ASAP and buy your ticket, which would be at releasingwhatweighsyoudown.com. You can also go to jjflizanes.com/event. But Releasing What Weighs You Down, there's no T, WEIGH, down.com. And again, a limited amount of seats in the actual event, but you can also buy a virtual ticket if you're located somewhere far, far away, and there's no chance you're going to be joining us in California January 12th through the 14th, 2018 for this very interactive, fun, transformational event. So I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I promise I will be back with you again next week.
In today's episode, I am joined by my friend and fellow podcast host and author, JJ Flizanes, as we dig into releasing what weighs you down and a whole lot more. Welcome to Consciously Speaking, exploring the evolution revolution. On Consciously Speaking, you'll be introduced to guests from all walks of mindful development. Spark up your spirituality, crank up your consciousness, and mend your mind right here on Consciously Speaking with your host, Michael Neeley. Hello, Conscious Explorers. Welcome to your sweet spot for mindful awareness and waking up. I am your host, Michael Neeley, and you're listening to Consciously Speaking. Today, I have the honor to bring to you my dear friend, JJ Flizanes. JJ is an empowerment strategist, and she's also the host of several podcasts, including Fit to Love and Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. She's the director of Invisible Fitness and Amazon bestselling author of Fit to Love, How to Get Physically, Emotionally, and Spiritually Fit to Attract the Love of Your Life, and author of NAC, Absolute Abs, Routines for a Fit and Firm Core. She was named the best personal trainer in Los Angeles for 2007 by Elite Traveler magazine. JJ has been featured in many national magazines, including Shape, Fitness, Muscle, and Fitness Hers, Elegant Bride, and Women's Health, as well as appeared on NBC, CBS, Fox 11, and KTLA. Her newest book, The Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame. That book debuted at number 2 on the Amazon bestseller list for women's health and number 2 as a hot new release on May 18th, 2017. You can learn more about JJ at www.jjflizanes.com, but stick around right now because she and I are going to have a great conversation to share with you today. So welcome, JJ.
Thanks, Michael. Glad to be back on your show.
It's fun. We've gotten to connect several times this year, which has been a lot of fun. I got to see you at Podcast Movement, which was wonderful back in August. And then we got to connect again at the New Media Summit, where we were both featured as icons of influence down in San Diego. So that was also a ton of fun. And of course, I love what you're up to in the world. I love the conscious element. And I love what we're going to talk about today, which is releasing what weighs you down, which is a big topic for you. And it's also the headline of this new event you got coming up. So where would you like to start in sharing about that?
I want to backtrack just half a second and say for anyone that's listening that watches Michael's Facebook Lives, you might have seen that we were doing a little drinking with the iHeartRadio event at Podcast Movement. And so it was a very loud event. So we had some fun Facebook Live videos back in the end of August in Anaheim at Podcast Movement. So that was really fun. That's true. We went from like being attached to the hip at Podcast Movement to I barely saw you at the other event. So, but that's part of, getting to know other podcasters too and being able to connect. And we know we'll see each other again because you're going to be speaking and presenting at my event in January in Los Angeles, which is, entitled Releasing What Weighs You Down. So in terms of where do I want to start with this, I guess let's start with the idea of the book and what the book is about. The book is about releasing body shame. And that actually kind of stimulated the idea to do this event because, as we all know, reading a book is nice, but connecting in person and having a live event and going through practices and processes and having a community to support you and to hear you and to see you and to be acknowledged and to support your growth can be transformational. And it's way more powerful than a book. And it was time. It's been a couple years since I've done a live event, and it was time. And it was because of the book and the conversations around the book and the culmination of all this material. It's taken me a long time to come up with this book because my life's work for 20 years has been a deep dive into what's really important, what really matters, why do we care about what we look like, why should we exercise, why do we want to eat well, and how do we do that organically and authentically? And how do we not get caught up in self-abuse and body shaming? And how can we do that in a way that feels good to us, that makes sense on every level, that we don't resist, that becomes part of our daily practice and routine, that we actually honor and don't reject? And that's been the quest. And it hasn't been till recently, I'd say in the last couple of years, that I could articulate and understand what I think is the deep dive and the different steps and secrets to actually accomplish what I think everybody wants when they look in the mirror or they put on their clothes and they're not comfortable, they don't like what they see. And what they really, really want is to love themselves and to be happy. And yes, it might be to have a better looking body or a better shape or have a better health. That's part of it. I mean, that's what, when you're looking in the mirror or when you're putting on your clothes and you have that frustration and you have that shame and you feel bad and you feel sad and angry and embarrassed, when that happens, I mean, it is surface level to start, but it's so much deeper than that. And it wasn't until I actually started the podcast, the Fit to Love podcast, that I really started to learn and grow a lot more than I was. I already had a lot of that information, which is why I started the show and why I wrote Fit to Love, the book. But in terms of being able to break it down, what's the steps? What are the simple 5 compartments that we need to focus on for us to really find peace and serenity, acceptance, and self-love? What is that? What does that look like? And how does that translate into taking care of ourselves and into longevity and vitality?
I love the topic of it, and I hope that this doesn't kind of derail where you may want to go with this, but it kept occurring to me as you were talking about all that, JJ, is that there is a battlefield for our psyche when it comes to the elements surrounding this. So, and what I mean by that is we are bombarded with constant marketing efforts to eat more. All the food and candy and chocolate commercials that we're exposed to that say, hey, eat this, eat that, and not necessarily because it's healthy, just because they want to sell more. And then we get hit with all of the things about how to lose weight, how to get in better shape, all the advertising that touts and shows us what it is to be the ideal way. And those are in conflict with each other. Then we get hit with all the diets that are out there of how you can offset the stuff that you really want to eat because the advertisers are telling you eat all the stuff. And it's a battlefield, really for the human psyche. And nothing is out there that I'm aware of. And if there is, it's very little and isn't getting any airspace. And that is that stuff that's out there that says, hey, eat reasonably, eat smaller portions, work out more, exercise. That is not what is dominating the marketing that we're getting exposed to. So I'm hoping that you can tie this into some pieces with your book, because I feel like that is one of the big detriments that causes a lot of the problems that we deal with around these issues.
Part of what's going on in today's world is the speed of information and the distraction that we have with our devices, with our phones, with our tablets, with the amount of information that we can get. And it's not going to necessarily slow down. It might implode and then we might decide to slow it down. But we haven't had to learn how to balance in this situation. We follow. And we follow the speed of the internet and of the things that are coming out of the television of life. And we have been surpassed. Technology has surpassed that point in which like the amount of growth and the speed of growth is something we actually humanly cannot keep up with. So we now have this space of you're never going to keep up with all of it. The amount of apps and websites and things that are happening every single day, new ways to do things. You absolutely, I don't care how much time you spend online, you will not keep up with it. So then it begs the question, well, then what do I do? And this again, I believe that every evolution of our being is two-part. It's what's the problem? And there is going to have to be a problem in order for us to grow. And sometimes what looks like a solution later becomes the problem. Like, let's say, industrialization of food, right? Genetic food modification was an answer to some people's question of making better crops, sustainable crops, maybe making more food for other people and wasn't weather dependent or it wasn't bug repellent at the time. So maybe it didn't yield very much. But now here we are 30, 40 years later after genetic modification happened. And now we have people dying of a peanut allergy where that didn't happen 30 years ago. So now what was the solution back then is now a problem and we have time to change it. So when it comes to looking at the marketing and what's going on, again, it's still very surface top level and we are begged and it's going to keep happening until we slow down and we're all going to learn it at a different time and we may not learn it. I believe we're eternal beings. You may never learn it in this lifetime, but you're given the opportunity to learn it. If you take a look around, we just had a tragedy here in this country not too long ago, a couple of days ago, and people are conversely going back and forth about what is it really about? What's the real conversation? And not that there aren't always going to be crazy people in the world going through bad things, but we keep having conversations about controlling circumstances, controlling other people, when the reality of it is we can only control ourselves if we don't learn to bring it back inward into ourselves. And that's why I love your show, Consciously Speaking, and consciousness. If you're aware of consciousness, then you have to stop and ask yourself, what's going on inside of you? It doesn't matter what's going on outside there. It doesn't matter how many different diet programs or foods there are out there. At some point in time, you have to check within and say, what's working for me? What do I need? What feels good to me? What works for me? Who do I trust? People go down paths of whether it be Western medicine or let's say general awareness, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But at some point, maybe someone says, in fact, I had somebody on my show who had 7 back surgeries.
Wow.
Now, if you were to tell me someone had back pain, I would immediately assume, I wouldn't necessarily tell them this because people don't want to hear it if they're not asking, but I would immediately assume that there's some kind of rage, some kind of suppressed rage going on in there, right? Unless, of course, they injured themselves because they fell down or they lifted a box the wrong way. If it's a chronic thing that you've been living with for years and years and years, it is not a physical thing. Because if you think about a machine that would break, any machine, you cannot keep running a broken machine. It keeps breaking down. Structurally, if you are broken somewhere, you will compensate. And then when you compensate, you're going to break something else. And it's going to keep going down the chain. So if you have had chronic back pain for 10, 20 years, I'm here to tell you, it's not physical. Now, physical things may help alleviate a little bit here and there, but we're talking about a deeper issue. And not everyone's going to get it, and not everyone's going to solve it. But we're in a community right now, hopefully, of consciousness where people understand that there are other layers, emotional, spiritual, energetic layers underneath the surface that create everything you see, which is why my company is called Invisible Fitness, because the invisible creates the visible. So when it comes to the bombardment, yes, I agree with you, because when you look at commercials, I mean, I don't watch commercials and I don't watch normal television, and I definitely don't watch the news. because it is very easy to be persuaded, to be emotionally drawn in to what's going on, and to then get hooked into that frequency and that energy, and then to act as if exactly the way they want you to. And I'm not saying that marketing is bad. We're all selling something. Everyone's selling something. I'm trying to sell self-love. I want people to love and respect themselves. I want people to be conscious and mindful and balanced, because it's possible. I want people to be open and resilient and flexible, because that's also something that can be learned. I want people to learn that their issues and their problems are healable, that they're not broken, that what happened to you, it happened for a reason, and it's here to help leverage your future and what it is you really want, and to not beat yourself up because of it. So I would agree with you that there are a ton of information out there, because, let's be honest, who can afford the commercials are the people that are making a lot of money that sell to mainstream people. I mean, your toothpaste has poison in it, but those toothpaste companies can afford to have commercials which tell you that their toothpaste is great for whitening your teeth, but never tell you there's toxins in there, that if you swallow it, you're supposed to call the poison control center. Right?
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Or dyes. I mean, I just did a spot, as you were reading my bio, and as I'm looking at it, I realized, I need to put the CW on there, because I was on San Diego Live, the CW Channel 8, about a week ago. And the segment was called Focus Foods for Kids. And the number one food that I was able to talk about in the 4 minutes that I was on live television in San Diego was food dye. And food dye is in everything. But food dye has been proven to lower the IQ of a child. Well, guess what? If it lowers the IQ of a child, it's going to lower the IQ of an adult too. And it's also been proven to hyperactivate your brain. It is a toxin in your brain, which is going to keep you not focused. So anyway, but those foods, they're not real foods, but yet the companies that use them and make them have billions and billions of dollars and spend on advertising. So when you turn the TV on, that's what you think is out there. It's
absolutely sad, and even to a large degree disgusting to me, what food manufacturers can get away with based on, they make these choices. I mean, food dyes were even invented to make something look more appealing, not for any taste or nutritional value whatsoever, but to make it more appealing. Why? So they can sell more of it. And so it disgusts me that our government allows this to continue to happen. And I know we're a capitalist society. I agree with you, JJ. We're all selling something, but there needs to be more rigid controls and restrictions on it, because for the most part, people aren't going to do the research to look into it for themselves, to learn what is being put into their bodies and what's helpful and what's harmful. And so can you share with our audience what it is? And you had mentioned the 5 steps in your book. And so if you can kind of go into those as a way to bring more awareness into this whole element.
Sure. One of the conversations that we're not having about releasing weight is about digestion. And so secret number 1 in the book is actually focused on digestion. So there's no calorie counting. There's no exact diet plan that I'm having anybody follow necessarily. So it can be good for vegans. It can be good for people who do paleo or any kind of other food elimination diet, or just someone who is experimenting and wants to see what happens when they start to change out some of the foods that they currently eat. And digestion really makes up 75, 80% of our immunity. It makes up our brain and our heart health. It makes the hormones and the neurotransmitters that make you feel good. So if we're not paying attention to our digestion, and most people don't, because they've got lots of symptoms and signs that say, hey, I'm not digesting well, but we ignore them. And some of those signs would be bloating, constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, gas.
There we go. I was waiting for that one.
Yep. Those are all signs that digestion's not easy for your body, and that something is challenging your ability to break it down.
Well,
simply.
Yeah. So let me ask you then this, because this actually just came up last night. So as you know, from us hanging out these last couple of events, I've been very strong into a ketogenic diet, and what that means for people who don't know, it means I'm really low on carbs, and I'm big into bulletproof coffee. And yesterday, I decided to cheat. I was just really craving carbohydrates, and I had this little pack of Cheez-Its that I send with my son for lunches to school. And I popped open a pack and ate some Cheez-Its, and I've been just really had gas all night long from it. And so what is that a sign of for someone to pay attention to? Because if I think it's when we start to pay attention, because most of the time we might blame it on any of a variety of things that we may have eaten. But I think that there are other causes, which I know that you can go into greater details for our listeners and for me about to go, okay, well, this is why it happened. And this is why it's not necessarily good for you to have in your diet.
I wish we would have prepped this before the show. I would have you grab the box of Cheez-Its so we can read the ingredients. But my guess is, number one, first, have you been dairy-free also on the keto diet?
I've been eating a little bit of cheese. And, of course, in my bulletproof coffee, I put in grass-fed butter.
So I don't consider butter. I know butter is dairy because it comes from milk, but butter is not. I'm dairy free and I use butter. And I tell people butter is excluded from the dairy free conversation because unless you know and you've been tested that casein is the issue for you, but most of the people can't digest the protein. It's the same thing with gluten. It's the protein in the gluten. It's the protein in the whey, because a cow is much bigger than we are and much different. And that protein is not meant for our bodies. Most people cannot digest dairy. But the thing is, they don't know that because they've lived with gas and bloating and constipation their whole life. Right. So they have no idea that there's any other way to feel in their body until you give it up and you do an elimination diet and you experiment. So besides the fact that it was dairy, because there's whey in Cheez-Its, there's probably dye in Cheez-Its. I know there's preservatives in Cheez-Its. I know there's trans fat in Cheez-Its. So there's really not too many good things in Cheez-Its. So I know you were craving carbohydrates. I know, other than the taste, if you can stomach it after you understand all the ingredients, what they do to your body. But that's, I would assume it's one of those that you have a sensitivity to. One of the preservatives that's in there, the possible dye, maybe the whey, or the trans fat. Yeah. Or even the gluten. Or because all of it. You had all of it in there. I know. I know. Sorry, Cheez-Its, but there's nothing good about your product. Except, yes, it tastes good, but it's not good for you really on any level unless you're somewhere starving and that's the only choice you have to survive. In which case, then eat some Cheez-Its. Well, and it also made me think of this, and I want to bring this into the conversation because I know a lot of the people out there listening, have children. And I know my son, 15 years old now, he loves Cheez-Its. It's one of his favorite snacks. And I almost feel like after my experience with it last night is like, just don't even let him have those anymore. Now, I don't know that we've checked to see what type of outcome it gives for him, but I agree that there's probably nothing in there very good to put in anybody's body. And I know as well that as we evolve, we develop, as we talked about kind of in our green room chat about different allergies that come up and stuff. So can you kind of cover a little bit before we get on to topic 2? I know I'm sidetracking you again here, but all this is so interesting to me about the evolution of our dietary capacity, if you will, and the way we build allergic reactions over time. Can you talk a little bit about that as well? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of your son and the Cheez-Its, if you can go to Whole Foods and see if you can find a healthier substitute that doesn't have dye in it, because what Kraft has done recently, I saw it on Dr. Oz about a year ago, is that they said, because, the education that we're doing and the conversations we're having are letting people know, and then they're asking for something different. And smart companies and responsible companies are answering. And Kraft decided and said that they were no longer going to use dye in their mac and cheese, and they were going to use things like turmeric and paprika to start to color, because you can find these colors in nature. Right. I did a CBS affiliate in Pittsburgh not too long ago. They didn't air it yet. And I made a vegan nacho cheese that I keep making every time I travel. You've seen me both times and I've had it. And it looks like Dayglow, the same color as like the fake, but it's absolutely 100% natural. There are carrots in there and tomatoes, and it's all 100% natural. So you can make these colors naturally from different spices and different vegetables. And so I'd invite you to go check out Whole Foods and see. I'm sure there is. I am sure there is a product that would replace the Cheez-Its with a healthier version. Now, it still might have gluten in it. It still might have whey in it, but at least you get the dye out of it and any nasty preservatives and possibly the trans fat. Yeah. And we can test it again then and see, is it producing the same results or not? And then we may look further. And in terms of the evolution, he's 13. So you're not going to probably get too far with getting him on a healthy diet because you want him to be. Right. It has to come down to education and what he wants. And I think education, and, I'm not a parent yet, but I always have this idea of teaching a child and having the opportunity to teach a child about food in terms of what's it good for? What does it do for me? How does my body, what does my body do with it? What does it become? Taking, the lysine from the turkey and the beta carotene from the carrot makes your eye, right? Like to teach children that these things, and then they eat them and they go, oh, I'm going to have better eyes because I'm eating carrots, but it's the same thing for adults. If adults understood what food did to your body, it would be easier for you to stay away from some of the things that you think are calling to you and use that word, which I don't like. And I thought I already yelled at you about it. The cheat, right? It's not about cheating. You make a conscious decision. I'm going to eat this food and I'm going to suffer the consequence of eating this food because right now the taste and the look and my craving says, I really want this and I'm going to have it. End of story. End of story. It's not cheating. Your life isn't cheating. No one's grading you. No one's going to come down on you. And I think that also ties into the book, into the event and into my brand, because that's part of shaming. Part of shaming is saying, beating yourself up for not being perfect or for not doing something that you said you wanted to do. And just saying, you know what? Like I was craving bad foods the other day. Oh, I was so PMS. Now I plan for my gluten eating for the year because I'm gluten free and I have been since 2008. And I'll have gluten maybe 5 times a year, And they're very plan specific events, like my Greek family's, family reunion. I've got some Greek foods. Okay. It's all Greek. The Greek food festival, right? The Greek food festival. I have the loukoumades because they're the best I ever had in the world. And so once a year I have those, but generally half the bread, although in Italy, I did, enjoy some good things in Italy, but some of the things aren't worth it. Like I know what it does to my body. So let's get to what that does to your body. So different foods like gluten and dairy, the protein from dairy, they start to create micro tears in your gut and in your intestinal lining because, again, like I said, the proteins are very large. They're different. They're not breast milk from a human fed to a human. It's breast milk from a cow, which isn't supposed to be in our bodies. I know it tastes good. Trust me, I was a cheese-aholic. So I'm not coming at this never loving cheese. I ate so much cheese growing up, and it was the hardest one for me to let go of initially mentally until I said, you know what? I'm tired of blowing my nose. I'm tired of being constipated. I'm tired of having phlegm. I'm tired of coughing before I go to bed at night. I know it was the dairy. And I said, let me try it for 2 weeks and see how it goes. I replaced all my go-to things from ice cream to yogurt to cheese to creamer in my coffee. I replaced all of them with a dairy-free, soy-free substitute. And very quickly, I realized I didn't need it. Like the cravings went away. So the breakdown of the body over time is it creates autoimmunity, because autoimmunity, we have a lot of autoimmune disorders happening right now, and a lot of them are happening in people in their 50s and 60s. And I believe it's because we've actually created, if you can imagine a screen, like a screen door. We have a screen in our bedroom that leads to the backyard and the pool, and we used to leave the screen door open. Well, we've got cats. And my lovely domino girl would jump up on the screen because cats love to do that. And then over time, the screen holes get wider and wider. And now flies can come in, and now it's ripped and it's ugly, right? And it's not really doing the job it's supposed to of screening out the things we don't want in the house. Well, that's what happens in your gut. When you keep eating foods, taking drugs, eating preservatives, eating things that your body can't break down, you start to create micro tears. And in those micro tears, when you're supposed to be digesting food and keeping in your digestive tract, it actually leaks out into your bloodstream. Now you may think, well, it's just food. It's not a big deal. Well, it might not be a big deal, but the body doesn't know what it is. It just knows it's not supposed to be there. So all of a sudden your white blood cells come to repair the damage and try to attack whatever this foreign invader is in your bloodstream. And now we've got all these white blood cells, and maybe even, and if you continue doing it, you've got this layer of white blood cells and inflammation around your gut, which then starts to produce hormones on its own. So there's a whole series of bad things that happens from that. Wow. And because it's basically like an unrepaired wound that continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And now the body is attacking itself because it doesn't understand what it is, because it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to stay in your digestive tract. So I see it in 50 and 60-year-olds whose doctors and people finally say to them, you can't eat these foods anymore. Like they become celiac at 60 because they can't digest this food because then they're hospitalized. But I think it's over time. It happens over time. It's not an allergy where you eat it and you go into anaphylactic shock. It's a sensitivity. And over time, it creates an autoimmune disorder.
Wow. That is scary. You've just, if I was constipated, I'm not anymore because you just scared the crap out of me with all of this information. Wow. So there's so much still that I don't know. And I consider myself to be somewhat of a conscious food eater I like to look into what it is I'm eating. My wife, way more so than I am even, and she tries to help me further along that path. And I also want to be real cognizant of our time because there's so much that I want to share in this. This is a massive topic, and I'm thinking maybe we've got 2 episodes in us for this, but I don't want to neglect the live event that you've got coming up that I want to share about, which I'm excited because I get to be there as a speaker as well. So tell us more about that.
So in January, the 12th to the 14th in Los Angeles, I have a very limited room full of only 60 participants. So that is the cutoff. And I've got 20 or 30 clients who may be signing up very quickly. So that may even drop down to only like 30 or 40 people that I actually can invite into this event. The event is called Releasing What Weighs You Down. And it was born out of this idea of the invisible fitness formula, 5 secrets to release weight and end body shame. And actually bringing people into the room to do some of the processes, some of the practices, some of the healings, some of the teachings, and the exercises that I've done with my clients, that you've done with groups in terms of NLP, in terms of doing meditation, because again, we have to bring ourselves out of our daily routines in order to learn something and practice something new. You have to have an experience in order for it to cellularly change in your body. You can't hear about it. You can't read about it. You can't watch it. You have to do it. And when you do it, then it sticks. And so I want to take this information from the book. I want to take this idea of releasing body shame, releasing things that stop you in your life, whatever they may be. It doesn't even have to be about your body and your health. It can be about relationships or your job or work or your purpose on the planet. We know, those of us that are conscious, we know when we're being stopped. There's something that's calling to us. We know that little voice in the head that's saying you're meant for more. This is not what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be happier. You're not supposed to struggle this much. There's something that you're missing and that you haven't found yet. Or when it comes to body and health and releasing weight, someone that's done 20 programs, somewhere you understand something's missing. Yeah. And so releasing what weighs you down is going to be a body, mind, and soul event where you will go through practices, healings. I promise I'm bringing in a healer. She is the most powerful healer I've ever worked with. She helps to release inherited emotional DNA. And not only will she be there to explain how that works, she will be doing a group healing on all of us to release whatever comes up. And I'm so excited to do a survey to see who's in the room and what do we want to release. And collectively, we will release some of those inherited emotional blocks. And it's such a easy process when it happens. But then there's also the tools of what to do with that, and then how to find that, what to identify, and then how to go through that. So we're actually going to live all of these principles within a 3-day period. The event is Friday night to Sunday afternoon. All food is included. All food will be paleo, gluten-free, dairy-free, keto, and with vegan options. So it's for everybody, but I would never, because I have a problem. I'm a great cook and I have a cooking show. I can't feed you what I won't eat. If you came to my house and I knew you ate crap, I can't feed you crap. Can't have crap in my house.
No, I don't blame you.
I'd still feed you the organic grass-fed beef. I'd buy the organic vegetables. I would make or buy the dairy-free cheeses. And I've done this with people who eat everything. And I've made them a little menu to show them what everything is. And then at the end, tell them everything was gluten-free and dairy-free. And they're like, it was amazing. I'm like, right. But had I told you it was gluten-free and dairy-free before you ate it, you would have looked at it funny. But if you actually have it taste good and sometimes better than the regular thing, then who cares what it is? If it tastes good and it's good for you, don't you want to eat it? Yeah. I mean, that's when you were talking about the cheat thing, which what I try to move people into. And I recently had a testimonial from my transformation program that goes along with the book. I had this conversation with her yesterday, and she said, I have been on so many diets, and I have to say that what you explained about the food has made it easy to not eat these foods. And she's already lost weight and no more bloating and clothes are loose and people are noticing her body looks different. But I loved hearing that it was because of how I explained it that it made it easy. Because again, if you educate people about what things do and you actually care about your health, then it does become easy. And instead of saying, well, don't you want that donut? And I'm like, well, why would I want to eat that donut when I can make one that's paleo, gluten-free, and dairy-free, tastes almost as good, and is actually good for me and won't hurt me?
Yeah.
Right? That's where I want to move people to, that no matter what it is you want, you can make it. You can find it. You can figure it out. You'll never need to feel deprived. Maybe you'll feel slightly like there's a little bit more work involved or a little bit more, but once you get the hang of it, it's easy. It's not as hard as people think it is.
I think this is going to be a wonderful event. I'm excited to be a part of it. And I do want to reiterate and drive this home for people that, to me, it's kind of like riding a bike. Like, I can explain to you the mechanics of riding a bike. You could read a book on riding the bike. You could watch training videos on riding a bike. But that is not going to teach you. You actually need to get on a bike and try it. And so that's what this type of event is. It's one of those things where you need to be there and experience it. So I love that you're putting this together, JJ.
I'm so excited. It's going to be such a great event. I've got so many great companies involved for food products and different alternative things that I keep discovering. And they're just awesome. It feels so good to eat clean and have it taste amazing and to feel good and to know that you're putting good fuel into your body because you operate better. You feel better. You attract more. Yeah. We're going to bring in that spiritual component as well. And again, of course, obviously the consciousness piece. Yeah. And we can't do any of this if we're not sort of aware and awake in our lives. So come get awake.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Come get awake. And so this is going to be January, which is a little while off yet. And so for our listeners to stay in action between now and then, I know you had a couple of free offers you wanted to make available to them. So could you share about that?
Sure. Well, we're starting now because there's two things. There's only a limited amount of seats in the room for the event. There's 60, like I said, but there will be a virtual ticket option. So I wanted to give people who are really interested and super excited about the live event the opportunity to get in there fast. After that, if you're somewhere where it's absolutely impossible for you to make it to Los Angeles in January, you can buy the virtual ticket. So that will be made available to you. But I just want to give the people who I know want to be there. I have people in Florida who said to me in August, let me know as soon as it's available. I want to come. So I'm just making it available. So in the meantime, there are two things that could be of interest to you. If you're someone who feels like you've not been able to lose weight or release weight over the course of the years, you've tried many things, there's something called weight loss resistance. And again, it's some of these different factors that I'm talking about. We only scratched the surface of one of them. There are 4 other components in the book, and there are 7 total weight loss resistant factors. If you think you may have weight loss resistance or you're just curious, I have a quiz. You can come take the quiz at fittolove.tv/quiz. Okay. And that'll let you know sort of the different factors involved, and it will score you and tell you what to do depending on what your score is for that quiz. The other spiritual side is in that practice, in that consciousness mindful practice of raising your frequency and your vibration. On the spiritual side, we just like people understand frequency and vibration when it comes to radio, right? Or podcasts, right? So you know that on a radio dial, you're on 102.7 and there's a station that's 102.7, but you can't hear what's being played on 102.7 if you turn it to 98.7. They're 2 different frequencies. And they're omitting different things. So in order for you to experience different things in your life, we need to change your frequency. If what you desire and want in your life lives at a different frequency, then we have to adjust our own frequencies to match that. And it's called law of attraction, but it doesn't have to be called law of attraction. It's just a law. It's actually physics, right? Again, we're looking at out there that frequency of the radio or the television, same thing, right? If you're on one station, if you change the channel, then the information changes. So we are also frequency omitting beings. Our emotions indicate who we are and what we're feeling and what frequency we're on. So anyway, I host a 30-day manifestation challenge. It's free. We only have one more this year. It's in November. So November 1st to the 30th. And you can sign up if you're interested at fittolove.tv/30day. So 30 DAY. Actually, it's 30 day M. It's 30-day M.
Okay.
I forgot the M on that. So it's 30DAYM, 30-day M. And that will link you to, again, that program where it's completely free. You come into the Facebook group and then we keep each other accountable. You get some audios to help you raise your frequency and to clear your energy and to stay focused on, and lots of videos and different tools, but it's all free. You are able to purchase some extra ones if you're interested, but the general community is free, and it's a great support structure to start to elevate your frequency so that you can get more of what it is you want in your life.
And I'll be sure to put the links for those on my show notes, and they'll be able to find them as well at michaelneeley.com. And I want to toss out two other pieces. One is that I'll also have the link there to sign up for this live event called Releasing What Weighs You Down. So that link will be on the show notes and on my website as well. And JJ, the one thing we didn't talk about was the price for your event, because I think it's amazingly priced considering that food is included and you're going to be taking care of so many of those elements, plus 3 full days of all this. So can you share with the listeners about the price?
Sure. It's $597 for the in-person live event, and the virtual ticket will be $197. And like I said, for the live event, all meals are included. Your travel is not, but your meals are. And that includes all meals, drinks, and snacks for Friday night, Saturday all day, and Sunday. And it's going to start with a meditation and exercises on the beach and a really fun Friday night start. And we're going to take a deep dive on Saturday and work with different kind of energies and healing modalities. And it will also be very fun as well. And then we're going to wrap it up on Sunday with the plan of what to do about it and how to integrate some of these healings and this new version of who you are and how you're going to move through the world lighter and feeling relief and inspiration and passion.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to be a part of it and looking forward to it, because frequently the type of work that I'm doing with my coaching with entrepreneurs is more about building a conscious business and less about these other elements. And it's great for me because I'm going to get to dig more into my meditation practices, a little bit of NLP, and working with people in that realm, which is also a big passion of mine, but just not what I've been pursuing much lately. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it. So thanks, JJ, for having me.
Well, you're welcome. I'm excited for you to be there. But wouldn't you agree, though, that it's also necessary for the people that are building their businesses? Because, on the personal side, we've got, if you personally have body shame or you want to release weight or you have health issues. But if you're building a business, oh my gosh, people that are entrepreneurs need help more than anybody in terms of creating balance, because the minute that we start working for ourselves, that's it. There is no balance. We go into this work in order to have balance, but we're the ones who are worse with balance because we work too much and we do not take care of ourselves. And, all for what? All this, you're going to die or have health issues if you're not taking care of yourself along the way. So what'd you build it for?
You're spot on with that. And that's part of why, another reason that I'm excited to be a part of it and to be there, because I know that I'm going to get some great learning and healing out of it myself. So I'm thrilled.
Yeah. And I'm trying to create this community of people who will hold each other accountable to doing it, because it's time, especially for entrepreneurs and anyone wanting to build a business or anyone who's super busy, to stop and take care of yourself and learn how to integrate that into your life. It is possible. It might not be ideal, but it is possible, and it's necessary, because you can't do it when you're dead. So instead of wait till the health gets bad and then go, oh, maybe I should do something about this, then, do it now. And there's ways and support out there for you to do it easier, faster, and find the right tools for you.
Totally dig it. I am thrilled about it, and I want everybody else to be as thrilled and to show up and join us. They'll get to meet both of us there personally, as well as some other really cool guests that JJ is bringing in. And I'm also going to share once more about your book, The Invisible Fitness Formula. I'm going to have that posted on my website as well. So if anybody's interested in picking up JJ's book, you can find that at michaelneeley.com. I'm sure you can also find it on her website at www.jjflizanes.com. That's FLIZANES.com. And of course, all the links will be on my website and on the show notes. Looking forward to seeing all of you there. JJ, thanks again so friggin' much. It's been wonderful having you on the show. I can't wait to see you again in person. And I love what you're up to in the world. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Michael, for having me on the show. And thank you, everybody, for being conscious. We need more of us in the world making a difference. Thank you again for downloading today's show, and I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Michael Neeley. This is Nutrition and Alternative Medicine, and I will remind you, if you're interested in being in the room with us live in person in January for a transformative and amazing event, please come over to releasingwhatweighsyoudown.com. And in the meantime, I will meet you here next week.